Okay, so everybody's in? Jamie?
Barb.
Barb, is everybody in?
She's using
Yes.
her computer, so that's
Okay.
Yes, everyone from the waiting room is in right now.
Okay, Derek may or may not show up. He's had a surgical procedure and, so I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. Chris is here, Robin is here, Corey's here, I'm here. And, so I call the meeting to order. I show it's about 7:01. First agenda item is, to approve the agenda. So, does anybody have any additions to the agenda, or do I hear a motion to approve the?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second. Okay, we have a first and a second, and I agree too, so it's unanimous, the agenda is approved. Now we need to approve the previous minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the previous minutes.
Second.
Okay, and we got a motion and a second, and Corey's in favor, I'm in favor, so the previous minutes are approved. Special business. Budget committee, Corey or Lisa, do you have anything to add?
yeah.
Jamie,
Barb, could you mute everybody that's not on the board or staff, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
okay. So, budget committee, Chris or Corey, do you have anything for the meeting tonight?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, it muted you guys too. I apologize.
That's fine. No biggie.
I unmuted us.
Thank you.
Robin?
Regarding the Recreation Committee, there's nothing to update at this time.
Okay, thank you. As far as the personnel committee, just for Bruce's information, I've asked all the board members for input for his annual evaluation. So I'm going to be putting that together so Robin and I can get with you in the next couple of weeks here and sit down and do our annual review. The other thing that I would like to mention from a personnel standpoint is just the board election. That's coming up. We've had 2 people nominate to be elected to the 3 vacancies we have. I would love for the word to get out for people to talk to your neighbors, encourage people that are willing to put in for the board positions so that we can have a nice slate of candidates to choose from. It's there's a lot of work at times, but it's a really valuable thing, and the community benefits from the input of multiple people. So I'd like to encourage people to put in and run for the board.
Off the camera. Let's go.
And hopefully we're still on, even though our camera's not running.
It looks good from this angle.
Do you see us on the camera?
We can see, I can see you, yes.
Okay, we just couldn't see ourselves.
Corey's
Okay.
trying to help Bruce. I see that.
Oh, there
He's
we
sitting
go.
back in his chair.
Okay, we got it. All right, well, thank you. So anyway, I just wanted to make that plug. Love to see some more people self-nominate so that they can run for the board. That's the only comments I had. Robin, do you have anything else for the personnel committee?
No, glad you mentioned the election stuff. No, I nothing at this time. Thank you.
Okay.
Wait, so the 24th is the last date that they can turn in their application, correct?
That's correct. Thank you for restating that. Yep, everyone needs to nominate by Friday, the 24th of February. After that, the window for nominations is closed.
Thank you.
Yep, okay. So, public comments. We will open the floor for comments. Anybody who has something they would like to discuss, You can have up to 5 minutes. So if you have anybody, raise your hand there and, identify yourselves, and, then the floor is yours. Do we have anybody? Okay, I'm not seeing any activity at this time, so at this point, I'm going to assume there's no immediate desire on anybody's part to make any public comment. So it's time for the reports. First, we'll go with the manager's report. Bruce, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First thing is our FCC license. It's for our repeater for our two-way radios, which we've had a license for quite some time. They're 10-year licenses, and ours was coming up in February. We got that renewed, and which is fantastic because we don't have to do it again for another 10 years, and it's free. So as being a public entity. So that was nice to get that done and out of the way for a long time. The next item is our sewer inspection. We had that last month and it went very well. We didn't have any violations, which is fantastic. So nothing but kudos for our staff for maintaining that and moving right along with that.
Before we
Sure.
move on, can I ask a question about the sewer? When is it, what time of year do we really start seeing the uptick in water infiltration into the sewer system? Is that more like April, May timeframe?
Whenever the snow starts melting.
So really, we haven't had warm enough temperature yet to start making a big difference.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Snow plowing, back in January, we had 3 big days of snow, about 36 inches, and staff did a great job that time. I just wanted to commend them publicly, recovered from our not so good performance in January, but they're doing a great job keeping up with it, and we expect them to be out there. They were out this morning at 5 a.m. and they will be back out tomorrow morning, I'm sure, because we got a lot of snow going on here. You know, in the interim here, they've been doing a lot of things that may not notice, but just so you know, they pushing back the roads to give you some width, because initially you don't necessarily get that. They've been doing that, cut the pack and digging up fire hydrants, which takes a long time because I remember Trevor told us we had like 140 fire hydrants. So you can imagine that takes some time. And so that's been going on the last few weeks. I'm sure they're all buried again now tonight, but we'll repeat what we've done. We had our front loader, had a bearing go out on that, and that had to be out of service for a couple of weeks. That was a problem because we really used that to push some of the snow, some of those banks back and over the edge and stuff like that. We did get it back last week, and it's expensive. That was something like $5,400 for that repair to fix that bearing. We couldn't do it here. It was something where you had to actually pull the loader into 2 pieces, which we just don't have the capability of doing. And so we had to ship it down to Durango. They took care of it and we got it back and it's up and functioning again. So that's good.
Bruce,
Yes.
that was $5,683.62 for the record.
Okay. Yeah, I know it was in the 5,000-ish range, mid fives. So yeah, 5,600 and some change. So yeah, that's any of that big equipment when it has to get repaired is a big ticket item. No question. I think Trevor might touch on that. I think he told me most of that was labor, or half of that or more.
Yeah, it was like $3,200 was labor and parts was two something.
Yeah, it's substantial. So we try and do, and we do a lot of our and most of our own repairs here. The guys are really talented in that regard, but there's just some things we can't do, and this is one of them. So at least it's working again. I want to talk about the solar panels. I guess there seems to be a lot of we'll call them rumors about it's costing us and this and that and the other. I just want to assure everybody, it doesn't cost the district. It did not cost the district anything. We will only receive some benefits from it. It'll cost us if we want to buy out the contract, which we have the option to do. But right now it's producing some power. Half of it's producing power on the back half of it. The front half is waiting for the the upgrade on the transformer that we're doing in conjunction with the generator program that we're doing. So they're waiting to hook up till when we get, so we don't have to do it twice.
So we are getting power out of half of it now.
Yep.
And it's running our pumps and stuff at this point?
Well, they don't, it's not, it's just coming out and it's not
Well, it goes
going
into-
directly, it's going in, yeah, it's going into the system and it's just being recorded.
We are benefiting from it.
Correct.
At this point.
Yes,
Okay.
just not fully because it's not fully hooked up. I talked to LPA today and we don't have a date yet of the transformer
Okay.
situation when we get that in, but it'll be in the not too distant future. It'll probably be, I'm hoping by the next meeting, we might not have that done. So that'll be great. Our grader, we have a lease on, it's coming to an end here I believe it's in June. And so we met with Hanan, and we're going to meet again with them tomorrow to kind of go over redoing it. We're also reaching out to CAT as well to get a bid on it as well for a similar type piece of equipment.
That's a year-round grader?
Yeah,
Okay.
right. And so we're working that now because that takes some time to iron out the details, but we're trying to stay in front of that. That's kind of a big deal. We use it summer, winter, basically all year long. So it's an important piece of equipment for us.
You guys thought about just buying a grader and keeping up with the maintenance that way, or? is it cheaper?
Yeah, but they're like $500,000. So, I mean, that might be in the future. And I've got the grant writer looking at that kind of stuff as well. There's some equipment that is possibility. But yeah, definitely I've looked at it because I'm thinking these are very expensive to lease, but at the same time, there's a huge upfront cost, or we buy it, we pay on a loan and interest. I mean, there's
And
a lot of variables on there.
we used to have a grader, and it got to the point where it was requiring quite a bit of maintenance. That's why, I don't know what process Keith went through to decide to do a lease instead. Maybe there was a dearth of low hour used graders or something. I don't know what that market looks like when it, down the road, especially if we can get some grants. I think it would be really nice to look into something like that we use so much.
100%. I completely agree. And we looked at, Trevor, what's the name of that auction company? I'm drawing a blank. I called them to find out when and they do most of the CDOT stuff and some of the big cities and counties, stuff like that. And I talked to them a couple of weeks ago and said they don't have one scheduled yet, but they will probably have a couple this year. So we'll be looking at that as well. Next, the PRID meeting that was back on January 28th. I went to that just because we got notice because we're part of that. Kind of an interesting annual meeting they have, but the biggest piece out of that whole meeting for me was that when they measured the snowpack on the 20th, it was at 154% of average. So that was really encouraging, assuming again a normal water rainfall as snow. We should have pretty good water this year, and I'm also hoping that with that we get some into the lake as well. That we have a lot up our hills and mountain there. We get it down there, but it was really good news to hear that from them as well. And then we had, I'm sure most of you heard about it, but we had a mountain lion attack that ended up killing a dog. There was extenuating circumstances. Apparently it had a kill nearby, but I guess the reason I mentioned is just be careful for yourself, your pets, have a look around and pay attention to what's going on out there. And if for some reason you do have a dead animal on your property, call the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and our phone number is there. It's 970-247-0855, and they will remove that from you, from your property. And the last item I have is on February 22nd, 24th, and March 3rd, Upper Pine is going to be doing some training in our lake, doing ice rescue. So if you see a number of fire engines and boats in the water and various things, it's okay. They're just training. And so that's good to know that they're doing that, and just in case something horrible happens in our lake, that they can do that rescue. And that concludes my report for now.
Okay, office manager / administration, Barbara, you taking care of that today?
I'm gonna do Jamie's report today.
Okay.
So we had 8 title transfers, 4 title requests, 16 shut-off notices were issued, 43 friendly reminders, numerous fob agreements, 71 update account information, 197 phone calls, over 800 emails. We processed 1,204 payments, 24 payments by text, 473 credit card payments, 87 made through the Payport application, 620 checks or cash in-house. We have 557 accounts signed up for paperless billing and 165 signed up for auto pay. We had several FLMD website updates. We participated in 2 online election trainings. We updated the current rate sheet and the service agreement with the rate increases. Just a little bit about the election. So the 2023 election will be all mail-in ballot only. We won't be doing a polling place. And like Bruce said earlier, the deadline for self-nomination forms are February 24th at 3:30 p.m. You can turn those into the office, or you can email them to office@flmd.com. And that concludes the manager's report.
Out of that 800 emails, what was the majority of those?
A lot of them this month were about the rate increases, and numerous emails about signing up for auto pay, charges for auto pay, just account questions. As far as my end, I don't know what Jamie's emails pertained to.
For mine.
Yeah, because that 800 included everybody, right?
No, it didn't. That's just what Shauna got.
Oh, okay.
Mine and Jamie's were included in
Oh.
that 800.
Both, okay, not mine.
That
Yeah.
makes more sense.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sean.
Thank you.
Maintenance, Trevor, the floor is yours.
All right, so yep, obviously plowing snow's number 1 on here. I've been doing a bunch of that. I've also been doing a lot of work on our snow plow trucks. We keep having stuff that constantly breaks down on them, which is no surprise, but we're able to keep them up and running and functional. Pushed back some of the snow banks and been cutting pack and also putting chips down. We did get our new SCADA system. It's not fully operational yet, but it's running in the background, and we're doing a lot of work with Brownshill on that, as far as like adding some things that we see that are missing and just working out all the bugs and trying to get everything up to 100% on that.
You like it so far?
Yeah, I do. I mean, someone else doesn't, just because it's new.
No names being mentioned here, but we all know who it is.
Yeah.
With the problems we've been having with Cassell and all that, I mean, oftentimes with the new system, you have issues. Are you guys running into any system problems with, operating the SCADA, or, I'm not sure how that's tied into the meters, so meter reading, is that all part of SCADA and all that?
No.
Nope.
Oh, that's
No.
separate.
That's separate.
We're running parallels with SCADA, so we don't, it's a non-issue at this point.
Oh, okay.
We're running the old system and we're doing the new one, and but we're using both.
It's working well.
Well, there's, Yeah.
It's still being built
yeah,
for essentially.
some of the screens and stuff like that. I mean, one of the more recent ones was on their phones, you know, when you get to a certain one, if you turn it sideways, it's supposed to give you a graphic. Well, it works on Trevor's, but it doesn't work on anybody else's.
Does Trevor have an iPhone?
They all got the same phone. That's the thing. And that's why we're like, what's going on with this? So it's just kind of one of those fluky things. It works. I mean, it looks great on his. So it's nice. You see the graphics and stuff like that. And it's push button, you know, it's a touch screen and stuff. So it's pretty cool. But there's things like that. Some of the verbiage, and it's constantly fine tuning to what they want, what our staff wants.
And we've got somebody working with us, a consultant that's.
Yeah, Browns Hill. Yeah, they're building and they maintain that. That's where we went to that online one instead of having it in a computer. So we run a small client is what they call it at the shop, and all the main data is being maintained up there, and all the security as well.
Okay, sorry to interrupt there. Okay, Trevor, I'll give you the floor back.
No problem. Let's see, we had a small leak in our River Ranch PRV. We were able to get that taken care of. Like Bruce mentioned, we've been clearing snow around the fire hydrants, and that's gonna, obviously we'll be doing that again shortly. We did receive our second grader, our rental, I believe it was the 4th is when we received that. And then obviously when our cold mornings, when it's super cold outside, we don't want to freeze our butts off. So we're hanging out inside, and we've been doing a lot of studying for our water and wastewater certs, just catching up on that and doing a lot of studying. And then as far as our equipment maintenance, again, we've been constantly working on them, putting new cutting edges on that keep falling off. And thank you to the people that call in and say, there's a big piece of iron in our driveway, so we know where we lost it at. Let's see. We did get a new cutting edge system for our blade as well, and that seems to be working out really well. It's cutting that ice and seems to be doing good. So, and obviously we've still been doing our water and our wastewater operations. Meter swaps and meter reads and rereads. This last month, the rereads were definitely a pain. I'm going to dig through all that snow. And then as far as our status of our fleet, everything's up and running. Our loader was down, but we got it back up and running. And
Trevor, let me interrupt you real quick.
Yes, sir.
Back to those meter reads, we're also exploring, what's the name of the company?
Neptune.
Yeah, but no, the other one that we would get, the antennas.
That's all, as far as I know, is through Neptune.
Oh, but we get that through this guy's up in, well, it doesn't matter. Right now, our system reads, like when they turn it on down at the shop, they immediately get something like 300 reads, somewhere in that neighborhood, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're going, well, with these antennas pick it up, if we maybe place 1 or 2 more, we don't have to drive around. And we could potentially then have real-time reading, like Shauna was there, if somebody calls up and goes, hey, I got a problem. Click, we can look at it real time. We're exploring that option right now to see what that costs, because that would be a huge time saver, number one, instead of driving around, as well as a lot of other things. But it would provide really excellent customer service to those people, that if there's an issue, and we can set alarms on different things too, like for high flow or something, that would, like, oh, you got a leak, you know. So we're looking at that looks viable. We're not sure exactly what the cost is. They're going to come out and at some point, I don't know if you've got a date yet set for them to come out and do a survey to figure out how many and where and stuff like that.
Who's it through?
Who's doing that? I mean, Grand Junction. What's that company? That we get?
Corn Main.
Yeah.
Dealing with
Are
Corn
they the
Main.
ones doing that?
Yeah, I'm pushing it through him, and then he's pushing it through Neptune.
Okay. So that's something that we may see sometime down the road, because we're exploring that, because we think that would just be better all the way around. Just because the amount that that antenna picks up off that. But it's like 300 people down at the shop.
Mhm.
So we're not sure where exactly, I mean, we can look and see, I guess,
So it
but
sounds like it's even worse than that. I mean, you'd even have more savings if you had to read stuff. You said something about taking through the snow to read the meters. Are we having problems with the meters not working in the snow or what?
no, well, sometimes the batteries a lot, mostly, you tell them, Trevor.
Oh, yeah. that-
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes the batteries go bad in RFs. And then with the recent snowstorms that we've been getting, some people end up hitting the RF if they're snow blowing and their snow's hitting the RF, it sometimes breaks them and causes us to have to go and do a reread.
That kind of sounds like that's a hassle. Is there a better way
Yeah.
to do that? I mean,
Well, they got different antennas you can use. You have ones you can put right into the meter pit, but with the amount of snow we get up here.
yeah,
they-
that could be better.
Because of the reception, or you still have to drive around and pick them up. There's real no positive solution to reading meters. It's gonna be a annual maintenance thing where you have to go out and swap out a radio because it died or the register stopped reading.
So even if you have these antennas placed around the metro district, you're still gonna have a problem with individual transmitters, the battery's gone bad.
There will be some, there's no
But
question.
If you tried to do meter read, you'd be able to compare that with a database and say, we're not getting reads off these 50 meters. And then you'd be able to know exactly where to go.
The program will tell you.
It already does that now.
It'll tell you if it's
Yeah.
not read or no read or.
But then you gotta go back and read. So that's
You gotta go
what
back
it's-
and figure out what
Yeah,
the
it's when he
file
talks about rereads, that's what he's talking about, because they bring that device, that one right there, or where is it, Corey? Yeah, right there. And it gets downloaded into the billing system, and then also that's where it'll show up, and then the list gets generated from Shauna, goes back to Trevor, says, we got a problem, and and so,
It's too bad there's not a more reliable way to do that. That's a lot of extra work for everybody.
There's a hundred one program out there, each program has its pros and cons, but, Durango operates off a mesh system, so they can get all the reads from a computer. But even then, the radios on those things still die, and you have to go out and fix them, or the guy that's installing it programmed it wrong, or hooked up a wire wrong, it's,
there's always gonna be some maintenance, there's no question, but.
they're gonna get away from it.
But overall, though, if we don't have to have, I don't know, how many hours it take you to drive around to do that? To read them now,
To read it's hour and a half, 2 hours.
that they drive around just to get the reads.
And
If
then
it-
another few hours to go back and do. the
Well,
reading.
it could be a lot more than that, depending on with the snow, like this time it was like horrible, but yeah, so I'm just saying, in general, they would save that every month time as well as other things, because we always get the calls, people saying, oh no, I didn't use any water, but she'd go, well, I'm looking at the meter right now and it's turning. There's that, because they have to go back and double check sometimes after they've reread it.
Yeah.
People don't believe it. They have to go back. I mean, there's,
Yeah, I asked the question.
lot of
just
stuff.
From a learning standpoint.
oh yeah,
That helps educate me. I wasn't aware of that process.
yeah, it can be onerous,
Yeah.
especially in these conditions with this amount of snow. I mean, these guys are digging back sometimes 15, 20 feet and then down.
Yeah.
So it's a problem.
It's funny, yesterday, I dug 6 feet into an ice bank to find one.
All right, Trevor, keep going. I interrupted you, I know, again.
Nope, that's all right. Yeah, and we are, I mean, with our new meters that we're putting in as well, the RF, it's no longer gonna be mounted on the post. So that's gonna help as well. You know, with people plowing, if they hit that post, it's not gonna, it won't damage the RF. Our new RFs sit inside the lid. They sit flush with the top of the meter pit lid, so that's gonna help out a bunch too as well.
No,
And you can read it through the snow?
Yeah, and it can read it through the snow. Yep, last year we got 6 of them and we tested it on places that get a bunch of snow piled on top of them, and we didn't have any issues.
Great.
Cool. Okay,
Well, I don't remember exactly where I was. I think,
status of vehicle three.
yep. Yeah, so the front end loader was down, but we got it up, it's back up and running. And we had a sander box.
Sorry, I
We had a
was
sander.
gonna, one of the dump trucks is not operational.
Oh, yeah. It's just a small valve that is being rebuilt. And I talked with Lynn, he's the guy that's working on that. He got all the parts in. Now it's just a matter of us pulling that truck in and he can install it. So
Okay,
that won't take no time at all.
I'm not a biggie then.
And that's just for the,
For a little bit.
yeah.
Just for the bed to dump,
It
yeah.
operates up, the engine works and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And then as far as our safety goes, we had no incidents.
Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trevor, I have
Right.
a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Besides doing the roads this morning, I was down at the dump area and it looks great. So whoever did that touch up did a really nice job.
Good, thanks.
Getting to the bins or anything, so I wanted to
Yeah, I was
compliment
down there a
you.
couple of days ago and it was terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, today it was wonderful.
Awesome.
And then
Perfect.
I know you're busy, but if you have time, can you check the pet waste bags at the end of the lake,
At the
at the
east side?
east side?
East side? Yep.
Yep, thank you.
You bet.
In fact, if you want to just give me some, I can do it, guys.
Oh, no, we'll
Well-
take care of that.
Okay, all
We'll
right,
take it. Thank you, though.
okay.
That's all I
Okay.
had.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Trevor? I guess not. Okay, so, financials?
Thank you. Unfortunately, I don't
Oh,
have
that's right.
anything to report. Other than I can tell you, we did not receive any property tax in January. That's just a fact. I double checked with Jamie and, it just didn't arrive. So that'll be booked when we get it. I'm assuming, we maybe have already gotten it. She's been out a couple days. We probably will have 2 in February payments perhaps. The other thing in terms of overall, the finances, again, I don't know how to explain this, but with the new year and the budget coming in, got the reports and there was a number of accounts that were not in there. Primarily, the first one I looked at is the property tax. It wasn't in there. And I'm like, how could that happen? So, and then we went through and realized there were some other ones. So that's being troubleshot at the moment. I mean, it's been probably 4 or 5 days,
Is that
working
a
days.
Cassell issue? Cassell did not do something properly?
Well, I don't know. Well, that's my take is that that's what happened, but
We still haven't got to the bottom of that.
at this point, yeah, there was something that there was some, there was expenditures as well as revenue accounts that weren't there. When I was comparing it against the budget, I'm like, well, what happened to these, so it's being worked on, so I don't have them, so when we have it, we will give you a January as well as a February,
Yeah. I hope
report.
we have it next month. I mean, that's
So
really
do I.
critical.
It's beyond frustrating and embarrassing for me. I will be perfectly honest. And anyway, that's the situation with that at the moment.
Okay,
Let's go to water. We pumped a little over 4,185,000 gallons. That's a little bit up from last year by about 440,000, but well within what is reasonable. I mean, that sounds like a lot of water, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge amount for us. So that was pretty good.
so does this stuff come out of Cassell too, or does this come out of a different system, this water?
No, that's a separate one.
Okay, I don't see a graph we normally see that compares to like the
Oh.
last 3 years.
That's on me for not putting it in
Because
there.
that's really helpful. You were able to tell us that it's a little bit more, but I like to look on there for trends and see if we've got a year that we're using more or less, or that way it gives us something to look at and understand what's happening.
Okay, yeah, that's my fault. I guess I forgot to put that in there. I will have that in there next time.
Okay.
guess that's it for. My apologies again.
Okay, there's no unfinished business as far as I'm aware of. New business, we have a number of contracts that need to be signed. Did you want to share anything about them?
Sure, I'd be happy to talk about any or all of them. The first one is our operator responsible charge, or generally called the ORC. Fusion Enterprises is who we've been using, Mark Fusion. He's been contracted with us for several years and is doing, I think, a really good job, and I think has really helped us get through a tough time, especially that water thing that we did get some dings on, but he, I think, really made it work with the inspector at the state by contacting him in advance and whatever. He is seeking slightly more for his services, but Mark's an A-rate operator, so he can operate virtually any system, even though ours isn't. But we have a good working relationship with me and him, and I think with our staff, and I would recommend that we approve his contract.
We don't need to vote on that, right? That's something that you have.
No, you have to go.
Or we have to.
Yeah, you got to sign it, so yeah.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any issues with the contract as it's written?
Nope.
Okay, well, then I make a motion that we approve the contract for the water and wastewater services. Anybody want a second?
Second.
Corey seconded. Carissa? Are you
Aye.
good? Okay, and Robin?
Aye.
Okay, that one is unanimously approved. I'll sign it at the end of the meeting.
Okay, the second out of four is for our Sawyer, which is the gentleman or the company that cuts down the trees in our right of way, which in this case is called Southwest Sawyers LLC. These folks have been in place for, I believe, the last 3 years. And I just prior to the meeting, I heard some comments about some issues. And I will just say that I've not had those with them. They've been very responsive to us. The contract has no increase. And unless Trevor has something he wants to chime in about with these guys, because he works a lot with them, I thought they did a pretty good job. They did a lot of the trees for in and around that solar stuff down on our emergency exit, as well as problem trees in the roadway that we want to remove for plowing reasons or other reasons, and things like that.
So in the past, we had a certain number of hours and dollars per year, and we would work within those limits. This new contract, I've noticed, just has an hourly rate. Do we have some kind of projection on how much we're going to use them, and how much this is going to cost this year?
Oh, yeah, I actually budgeted the exact same amount as we had last year, and I don't have that number off.
Okay, we budgeted the same amount.
The exact same as we had last year.
At the same rate, so
Yep.
we should be able to get the same amount of work.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I apologize. I should have picked that up.
I'm also curious too, when they have the same dollar amount for different services, $230 for limbing a tree, $230 for falling a tree, and it's $230 for pruning. To me, the price seems high to begin with, and there's no variation between the services they're performing. Like, pruning should not cost the same amount an hour as falling a tree.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just being nitpicky, but it's,
No, I mean, I know what you're saying, but the labor, which is the overwhelming majority of whatever this is the same labor. They're not bringing a different person
Yeah,
in to prune versus cut a tree down.
they've got the same three people doing the work, whether they've got,
Right.
they're taking a tree
That's,
down or whatever.
I mean, it's a good question, but I think that's probably the only explanation I can think that makes any sense to me.
I mean, since it's virtually all labor, I mean,
Yeah,
or I would say 90% of it's labor.
right.
I would assume.
yeah,
that's
there's more labor falling a tree than there's just pruning.
Well, there may be more labor, but that
The same rate.
that's paid for by more hours, right? So, do you have a suggestion? Do we
I
need to?
would like to see other quotes, but that's my opinion.
If you guys don't want to approve, that's fine. We can do more. It's up to you guys.
I'm not trying to like nitpick this, it just seems higher to me, and that's all I'm getting at.
Carissa or Robin, do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I thought I heard that there's no increase in the way of the wages haven't increased. We've been using them for the last 3 years, evidently. And their budget is it's budgeted for the same amount that we've done in the past. So I'm not seeing, we have been using them for the last 3 years. Is that as long as we've been using them, or?
Yes.
And do we have issues with anything that they've done?
Well, I'll speak to that. I haven't. I have heard from others that sometimes they had, but I can just speak from my experience.
And.
Right, okay. And that's Forest Lakes.
So,
I've used them personally, so I don't know if I have to recruit myself, but they weren't the cheapest. But very professional. They cleaned up afterwards, which when I had trees removed before, they left all sorts of junk. And I think you get what you pay for. But since I have used them personally, if I have to recuse myself, I will.
So you're speaking in favor of them.
Yes.
Robin, do you have a feeling?
At this point, the contract that we're going for is for 1 year, is that correct?
No, this contract is indefinite length. So what we've done is establish a standing contract. And it can be terminated by them or by us at any time. So in the meantime, just so we have somebody on the hook, we could use this contract while we're looking for other opportunities, maybe to save money down the road.
That makes sense.
So that would be a way to go with this one also.
Can I
Yeah, that
ask
makes sense.
what the complaint was, the specific complaint?
I think that was that they weren't showing up on time, or said they would be someplace and then they weren't, or whatever.
Okay.
But
I know that like there was one point in time where they decided they were gonna go help out at some of the fires that were going on in California last year. And so we had anticipated them coming in, and then we got a call that, hey, they're not gonna be in, they're not sure when they'll be back. So that happened. I mean, there was minor things, but they put in the number of hours that had been requested. They did a bunch of the work that the Metro needed done. So, Trevor?
I do.
Oh, whoever was speaking.
Go ahead.
I do also have a logger that would be probably usable for the situation. I can speak with him tomorrow.
Okay, well, if you would like to get a hold of Bruce so you can share the information, then Bruce can investigate.
Yes, sir.
So are we anticipating any need for a Sawyer before next month?
No.
Okay, how about if take a look at what Daryl gets you the information. Maybe you can ask for a couple additional quotes. We may still decide based on what Carissa said, that if they're doing a better job than some of the others, or for whatever reason, at least then we've looked at a couple others, and
fair enough.
I think from a financial standpoint, that's probably due diligence. So we will revisit this contract next then, or with whatever information you have gathered. Sound good, Corey?
Fairly?
Okay.
Okay. The next contract is the gravel extraction and crushing. I only got one. There was only two companies I could find that actually did this, that could do it on site. They could extract it out of our pit and then bring it up, let it dry out and then crush it on site, which is kind of a unique thing. And ultimately the other company that they could, because I needed to bring this to you guys, and I finally gave them a deadline and they called me and said, we can't quote, we don't have the business, we don't have the time to do it. So I really only have one. This is the company that did it the last time as well. So what we get out of this is 12,000, let me find exactly, 12,000 tons, 12,000 and something tons of gravel for that 150,000, because I had to do this contract backwards because we budgeted money for it. And so when I went to the various, the two contract or companies, said, what can you give me for this amount of money? Which is very different, I know. And so the attorney wrote it, had to write a little bit differently. So we already have 3,253 tons that have been extracted before. That's sitting there and it's dry. And then, so they'll extract, ultimately we'll end up with 12,823 tons. 25% will be 3-inch and 75% will be 3/4 inch, because we use a lot more of that. And it's going to be noisy. So we limited their out from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday only, no weekends, nothing early like that. And it's still going to take crushing, as I'm told, from some of our employees that were here for the last one, it'll be roughly about a month. I mean, and it's just going to be loud. I mean, we'll probably hear it here at the district office, honestly.
Okay.
But we'll let everybody know. We'll definitely, once we get the dates firmed up on everything, we'll shoot out some reminders and let everybody know. So in case they want to be out of town, perhaps for some of that time, if not all of it.
How long is this 13 tons gonna last?
Well, look back at the last one and they took out just a little bit more than that last time, and that lasted 6 years. Or it has lasted 6 years. We still have some there, as you can see our piles, so it's not done. But so I would expect, somewhere in that range.
So we might be safe to put in the budget enough each of the 5 years.
That's what we're doing.
And that's
At the end of 5 years, then we would have enough.
That's
money
what's
to do
happening.
that. Okay.
We're setting aside a chunk every year.
So we're in the ballpark.
Yeah, I divided that by 6 is what I put in the budget for this year. We're already
Okay.
putting it in for going forward so that there won't be this big hit like this to the budget.
Okay. All right, well, it sounds like this was the only option, and it sounds like it's reasonable in view of the previous crushes and all that, so. I'll make a motion that we approve this contract for material crushing services.
Second.
Okay, we got a second, Robin?
Aye.
Yeah, Krista, did you have a question?
No, aye.
Oh, aye, okay, Robin?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So I will sign this contract at the end of the meeting. And we've got one more contract to discuss.
Yes, this last one is for payroll services. We currently are doing it in-house with Cassell. However, when we're looking at a variety of issues, we decided to reach out to some other folks that do this. I went to Paychex, ADP, and then our local company here, payroll department, and asked for quotes, had discussions with them about what we need, what we want, and whether they could do it. And kind of like the other one where I only got one back. So I tried to get 3 and I didn't get a response to the other 2 after speaking with them. Now, that being said, right now, even though we're doing it in-house, just the software and what have you costs us $425 a month. If we contract it, we not only our employees don't have to do it and we get the expertise, but it's saving us money. So in my view, it seemed like a pretty simple thing to do when we're going to save money. And then they do all the reporting for the federals and states. They'll do the W-2s, 1099s, whatever, and stuff like that. So, and
So
one
it
of the,
saves money and takes workload off there.
it does, and we get expertise as well, because we definitely had some issues doing some of the payroll stuff.
They're a good company too, because we use them in Bayfield.
So it just made sense, and really, I almost will call it the clincher is they're local. They're in Durango, so if there's, we can go down there. Or something, if, I mean, even if something goes awry, electronically, something doesn't work, if we could go down there and hand them a piece of paper, or if we needed to or something, and that goes a long way in my book, even though,
Another cool thing they do is, you can clock in and out on your phone and request all your time through your phone. It makes everything a lot easier.
Well, I was told that it saves money,
yeah,
so it sounds like it was a good way to go. You try to get other quotes, they were the only responsive party, so at this point, it sounds like it's reasonable. When would they be able to begin providing services?
not 100% sure, because we're gonna have a payroll at the end of this week. We'll conclude one. There'll be a pay on next Wednesday, and we'll try and see if we can get them on for that. I don't know.
But it may take.
It might take one more cycle after that, because we've got to get them some information. They've got to input it into their system, and so I would hope to be able to do it that the last pay period in February, that I believe gets paid in March, the first payment in March. I don't know if we'll be able to do it, but the one after that, I'm quite sure we'll be able to get that done.
Okay. All right, well, that sounds positive to me. I'll make a motion that we approve the contract for payroll services with the payroll department. And Corey seconded, Robin?
I
Aye.
agree.
Okay, Krista?
Yes, I.
Okay, that one is approved also. I will sign that following the meeting.
They're a really good company.
Okay. Disbursements,
Anyone got any questions for Bruce on this?
Yeah, I do. I don't know who to direct it to. So, the people that are cutting down the trees on our evacuation road. I hadn't been back there in a while because of the snow, but I was there and I noticed that the pile of logs is down. So they've been there even when it was snowing. Do they contact us ahead of time when they're going to work there? Do they have a lock on that gate? Excuse me.
Yes, they do have a lock on that gate, and we're working with Upper Pine on that, and they're the ones that are coordinating that. So I worked through Paul on that, and so yes, we did put a lock up just for them so that they could use their own versus ours or the fire department's.
Okay.
The mic's here. I'm looking at the TV and I'm like, I should be talking over here. So I know, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
all right,
Anybody else?
okay, and I failed to report, or to print that report out. So what's the total number?
Oh. $69,224.43.
Okay, so are you making a motion to?
I'd like to make a motion to approve January 1 to January 31st disbursements in the amount of $69,224.43.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay,
Aye.
okay, we're all in favor, that is approved. And unless anybody else has any last minute items to bring up, I show that we're at the end of the agenda. Last call for anybody if they have any comments.
Nothing in the chat.
Pardon?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay,
Is it still snowing outside?
I closed the drape so I wouldn't look.
we'll
Been
find out.
blowing too.
I hear
Okay.
I hear the wind. Yeah.
Well, I show that it's 7:56 and we are officially adjourning the meeting. Thank you
Move
for
to
your
adjourn.
attention, everybody. Appreciate it.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, we have to vote on that.
Yeah.
right? I make a motion to adjourn, excuse me. Okay. And Chris and Ron,
Yes.
you're both in favor, okay.
Okay, approved,
Thank you
yes.
for getting together.
Agree. We
Right.
both agree.
Everybody stay safe out there.
Be
Yes,
careful driving.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's been
Okay,
blowing.
thank you. You guys have a nice evening.
All right, thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.